The great hall of Nexus Prime stretched far beyond what any eye could see. Golden pillars reached toward a ceiling that seemed to touch the stars themselves. Tonight, the most powerful beings in the galaxy had gathered for one reason. They were here to celebrate their greatest victory. Commander Tyke stood on the main platform, his blue skin gleaming under the bright lights. His 4 arms moved as he spoke, each gesture showing his pride. Behind him, a massive screen showed images of Earth, a small blue planet that looked peaceful and quiet. 500,000 years ago, Tyke's voice boomed across the hall. We found this little world. We expected a fight. We expected these humans to resist us with everything they had. The crowd of aliens laughed. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others had scales that changed color when they were happy. All of them looked down at the small group of humans standing quietly at the back of the hall. Dr. Hana kept her head down, like she was supposed to. Her black hair was tied back in a simple way. She wore the gray clothes that all human servants had to wear, but her dark eyes missed nothing. She watched every alien leader, memorized every face, and listened to every word. But these humans, Tak continued, they gave up without a real fight. They saw our ships and simply surrendered. It was almost too easy. More laughter filled the hall. Near the back, June pushed a cleaning cart between the tables. His job was to keep the hall clean during the celebration. The aliens never looked at him. To them, he was just part of the background, like furniture that could move. Empress Vexara rose from her throne. She was the most powerful being in the galaxy, ruler of millions of worlds. Her silver skin caught the light as she moved. When she spoke, everyone listened. The humans have been perfect slaves, she said. Her voice was soft, but everyone heard her. For 500,000 years, they have served us well. They clean our cities, work in our factories, and help with our simple tasks. They never complain. They never fight back. They have forgotten how to be anything more than servants. Hana's hands stayed still at her sides, but inside she felt something else. It was not anger. It was not sadness. It was patience. The same patience her people had shown for 500,000 years. The Empress continued her speech. Today we celebrate not just our victory over Earth, but our wisdom in keeping these creatures alive. They make excellent workers. They breed quickly and don't ask for much. Some of our scientists even study them to understand how a species can be so simple. On the great screen, images of human settlements appeared. Small houses, basic farms, and people working with simple tools. The aliens in the hall nodded with approval. Everything looked exactly as they expected it to look. Commander Tyke moved to the center of the stage. I remember the conquest myself, he said. I was young then, eager for battle. When our scouts found Earth, we prepared for war. The humans had some technology, basic spaceflight, simple weapons, primitive computers. He paused for effect, his 4 eyes scanning the crowd. But when our fleet arrived, something strange happened. Instead of fighting, the humans sent messages of surrender. They said they did not want war. They said they would serve us if we spared their planet. An alien with green tentacles called out from the crowd. Were you not suspicious, Commander? Tyke's laugh was loud and harsh. Suspicious? Why would I be? We had thousands of warships. They had maybe a few hundred small craft. We could have turned their planet to dust in hours. Their surrender made perfect sense. June had moved his cart closer to the main platform. He was cleaning tables that were already clean, but nobody noticed. His young face showed nothing, but his ears caught every word. The funniest part, Tyke continued, was how eager they were to help. Within days of our arrival, humans were volunteering to work for us. They shared their technology freely. They taught us their languages. They even helped us build bases on their own planet. Dr. Hana remembered the stories her grandmother had told her. Stories that were never written down, never recorded, never shared with the aliens who ruled them. Stories about the real reasons for humanity's surrender. Some of our historians, the Empress said, believe the humans had a prophecy about our arrival. They seemed almost prepared for us. But prophecies are just the dreams of primitive minds trying to understand a universe too big for them. The celebration continued for hours. Alien leaders shared stories about their human servants. Some talked about how humans had helped build their great cities. Others mentioned how human workers never got tired and could do jobs that were boring or dangerous. A tall alien with purple skin stood up. On my world, humans work in the deep mines. They go places we cannot go. They fix machines in spaces too small for us. And they never complain about the dangers. On my world, said another, humans tend to our food gardens. They have gentle hands that do not damage the plants. They work all day under our hot suns and still smile at us. Dr. Hana almost smiled herself, but she kept her face blank and empty. The aliens thought human behavior came from being simple and happy to serve. They never guessed that there might be other reasons. As the night went on, the aliens drank their strange wines and told more stories. Some stories were about human customs that seemed funny to them. Others were about how humans raised their children to be good workers from a young age. The best part, Commander Tyke said near the end of his speech, is that after all this time, they still believe they are important. Some of them think they have culture and art. They make little paintings and sing simple songs. It is quite entertaining. The hall filled with laughter again. But during the noise, something else happened. Dr. Hana looked across the room at June. Their eyes met for just a moment. In that moment, without words, they shared something the aliens would never understand. Other humans in the hall, servants, cleaners, helpers, caught that same look. One by one, their eyes met across the great space. No words were needed. No signals were given, but something passed between them. The celebration reached its peak when the Empress raised her glass high above her head. "To 500,000 more years of human service," she declared. "To 500,000 more years," the crowd replied. But in the quiet corners of the hall, the humans who served them had different thoughts. As they cleaned up the mess and prepared for another day of serving, they carried with them the same secret their people had carried for 500,000 years. The aliens had celebrated their victory. They had laughed at human simplicity. They had made plans for the future that stretched across centuries. They had no idea that the real celebration had not even begun. The old tunnels beneath the human settlement were dark and quiet. Minho followed Elder Kyung deeper underground, his footsteps echoing off ancient stone walls. He had never been this far down before. Most humans lived in the simple houses on the surface, where the aliens could see them and count them. "How deep do these tunnels go?" Minho asked. He was only 20 years old and had questions about everything. Elder Kyung smiled, but he did not look old despite his title. His face was smooth and his eyes were bright. "Deeper than the aliens have ever looked," he said. "Much deeper." They walked for another hour through passages that seemed to go on forever. Sometimes the walls were made of stone. Sometimes they were made of metal that gleamed like silver. Finally, they reached a great door that was taller than 10 men. Elder Kyung placed his hand on the door. It glowed with soft blue light and opened without a sound. Beyond the door was a room that took Minho's breath away. The ceiling was so high he could not see it. The walls were covered with screens showing stars and planets. In the center of the room stood a table made of crystal that seemed to float in the air. "What is this place?" Minho whispered. "This is where we keep the real history," Elder Kyung said. "The history the aliens never learned." He waved his hand, and the crystal table came to life. Images appeared in the air above it, images of Earth from long ago. But this Earth was not the simple world the aliens knew. This Earth had cities that reached the clouds and ships that sailed between the stars. 500,000 years ago, Elder Kyung began, humanity was not weak. We had technology that could split atoms and bend time. We had weapons that could destroy entire fleets with a single shot. We had shields that could protect whole planets. Minho stared at the images. He saw humans in silver suits walking on distant worlds. He saw massive ships that dwarfed even the largest alien vessels. He saw cities floating in space, beautiful and bright. Then why did we surrender? Minho asked. Why did we let them conquer us? Elder Kyung touched the crystal table again. New images appeared, alien ships arriving at Earth. They were large and powerful, but compared to the human ships in the earlier images, they looked small and simple. We did not surrender because we were weak, Elder Kyung said. We surrendered because we were smart. The old man sat down in a chair that seemed to grow from the floor itself. When the aliens came, our leaders had a choice. We could fight them and win easily, or we could do something else, something that had never been tried before. What do you mean? We could pretend to be conquered while we learned everything about them. We could study their technology, their culture, their weaknesses. We could spread across their entire empire while they thought we were just simple servants. Elder Kyung waved his hand again. The images changed to show human settlements on different worlds. But now Minho could see what the aliens could not see. Below each settlement were vast cities hidden underground. Millions of humans lived there, working on technology far beyond what the aliens possessed. Every human you see working. For the aliens, Elder Kyung continued, is part of the greatest plan in galactic history. We have been learning and growing for 500,000 years. We have been preparing. A new image appeared above the crystal table. It showed Captain Sora standing next to her cargo ship. But as Minho watched, the ship changed. The simple metal hull fell away like a disguise, revealing a vessel of impossible beauty and power. Captain Sora carries more than cargo, Elder Kyung said. She carries messages between our hidden cities. She carries new technology and new knowledge. The aliens see her as a simple pilot moving goods between worlds. They never check her cargo because they think humans are too simple to hide anything important. Minho's head was spinning with all this new information. But how is this possible? How do we keep all this hidden? Elder Kyung smiled wider. Watch, he said. The crystal table showed an alien overseer named Thax. Minho knew him. Thax managed the human settlement where Minho lived. In the image, Thax was talking to a group of human workers, giving them orders for the day. But then, the image changed. It showed what was really happening. The human workers were not simple farmers and builders. They were scientists and engineers who had lived for hundreds of years. Some had helped design the alien ships that now flew overhead. Others had written the computer programs that ran alien cities. We age much slower than we appear to, Elder Kyung explained. What the aliens think is a human lifetime of 70 years is actually just childhood for us. I am over 8,000 years old. I have watched alien empires rise and fall. I have seen their leaders born and buried. The truth hit Minho like a wave. You mean every adult human is older than the oldest alien alive? Elder Kyung finished. We have had time to study them completely. We know how they think, how they feel, what they fear. We know their technology better than they do because we have been improving it in secret for thousands of centuries. New images appeared on the crystal table. They showed alien worlds that Minho had never seen before. But on each world, hidden, deep underground or floating in space where sensors could not detect them, were human cities. We are not conquered, Elder Kyung said. We are everywhere. Every alien world has humans living below it or around it. We have built a civilization that spans the entire galaxy. The aliens rule the surface of things, but we control everything underneath. The images changed again, showing the inside of an alien warship. But Minho could see things the aliens could not see. Human modifications built into every system. Tiny changes that would allow humans to take control if they needed to. Every alien ship, every alien weapon, every alien computer has been touched by human hands, Elder Kyung said. We have been their servants for so long that they trust us completely. They let us repair their machines and build their cities. They never question our work because they think we are too simple to deceive them. Minho felt something growing in his chest. Not anger, but wonder. When will we reveal ourselves? He asked. Elder Kyung stood up, and the crystal table went dark. Soon, he said. The time for hiding is almost over. But first, you must understand the most important truth of all. He led Minho to another part of the great chamber. Here, the walls showed images of human children playing in alien settlements. They looked happy and carefree, just as alien observers expected them to look. These children are not innocent, Elder Kyung said. By the time a human child reaches 10 years old, she knows more science and mathematics than most alien scholars. By 20, she can design technology that aliens would not understand for another 1,000 years. But we teach them to hide this knowledge, to appear simple and happy. The images showed human families living in basic houses, eating simple food, wearing plain clothes. But now Minho could see the truth behind the appearance. These families were connected to the vast network of hidden human civilization. Their simple houses had secret rooms filled with advanced technology. Their plain clothes contained communication devices more sophisticated than anything in the alien military. The aliens think we breed quickly because we are like animals, Elder Kyung said. They do not realize that we have solved the problems of disease and aging. They do not know that every human they see has chosen to have children because we believe the time is coming when we will need more people for the great work ahead. As they walked back through the tunnels, Minho's mind was full of questions. But one question was bigger than all the others. Elder Kyung, he said, what happens when the aliens discover the truth? The old man stopped walking and turned to look at Minho. In the dim light of the tunnel, his eyes seemed to glow with their own light. They will not discover it, he said quietly. We will reveal it to them, and when we do, the galaxy will never be the same again. Far above them, in the simple settlement where aliens came to count humans and assign them work, life continued as it had for 500,000 years. Humans smiled and bowed to their alien masters. They worked hard and caused no trouble. But now Minho knew the truth. Every smile hid ancient wisdom. Every bow was part of a plan so vast and patient that the aliens could never imagine it. And somewhere in the darkness of space, Captain Sora flew her simple cargo ship from world to world, carrying the pieces of humanity's greatest secret to every corner of the galaxy. Director Junho sat in a chamber that did not officially exist. The room was carved from solid rock 3 miles beneath the surface of Kepler Station, an alien military base. Above him, thousands of alien soldiers went about their daily duties. They had no idea that their most important decisions were being influenced by the quiet human who cleaned their floors. The crystal screen in front of Junho displayed reports from across the galaxy. Every report showed the same thing. Human agents were ready. After 500,000 years of preparation, the time had finally come. Begin protocol emergence, Junho said quietly. His words traveled instantly to every hidden human settlement in the galaxy. On 10 million worlds, humans who had spent centuries playing the role of simple servants received the same message. The masquerade was beginning to end. Agent Yuna stood in the command center of the alien flagship Dominator. She had worked on this ship for 200 years, slowly rising through the ranks. The aliens thought she was just another human servant who had learned to use their computers well. They had no idea she was one of the most skilled military strategists. In human history, General Krex, the ship's commander, looked at his screens with confusion. "These readings make no sense," he growled. His thick purple skin was darker than usual, which meant he was worried. "Half our systems are showing errors that should not be possible." Yuna moved closer to his command station. "Perhaps I can help, General," she said in the humble voice she had perfected over the centuries. "I have maintained these systems for many years." Krex barely looked at her. Like most aliens, he had learned to ignore human servants unless he needed something from them. "Very well, but do not touch anything important," Yuna almost smiled. If only he knew that she had designed most of the important systems he was worried about protecting. She moved to a side console and began typing. To General Krex, it looked like she was running simple diagnostic tests. But what she was really doing was activating hidden protocols that had been built into the ship's systems decades ago. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out on thousands of alien ships. Humans who had spent generations maintaining alien technology were finally revealing their true purpose. But they were doing it slowly, carefully, so the aliens would not understand what was happening until it was too late. Tech specialist Do Hyun worked in the great factories of Titan Base. For 3 centuries, he had helped build the machines that produced alien technology. Every ship, every weapon, every computer that came from these factories carried hidden modifications that only humans knew about. Today, Do Hyun's job was different. Today, instead of hiding human technology inside alien machines, he was going to start revealing it. He walked to a massive manufacturing unit that was building new communication devices for the alien fleet. To anyone watching, he appeared to be doing routine maintenance, but his fingers moved across hidden control panels that existed in spaces too small for alien hands to reach. One by one, the hidden systems came online. The manufacturing unit began, producing devices that looked exactly like alien communicators, but contained human technology far beyond anything the aliens had imagined. Overseer Zandak supervised the human workers, just as his father had done, and his father before him. For his entire life, he had watched humans work in the factories. They were good workers, careful, precise, and never caused problems. "Do Hyun," he called out. "How long until the new batch of communicators is ready?" "Very soon, Overseer," Do Hyun replied. "These will be our finest work yet." Zandak nodded with approval. He liked humans because they took pride in their work, even simple work. He never suspected that Do Hyun's pride came from something very different than what he imagined. Meanwhile, on the research station orbiting Proxima 7, Dr. Hana was having the most important conversation of her life. She sat across from Alien Administrator Vextal, who controlled all human assignments in this sector of space. "Dr. Hana," Vextal said, "you have served in our research facilities for many years. Your work has been adequate." Hana bowed her head respectfully. "Thank you, Administrator. I am honored to serve." What Vextal did not know was that Hana held advanced degrees in 17 different sciences. Her adequate work included discoveries that would have won the highest honors in alien society if they had known she was responsible for them. "We are promoting you," Vextal continued. "You will now have access to our most advanced laboratories. You will help our real scientists with their important work." "I am grateful for this opportunity," Hana said, but inside she felt something different. For the first time in centuries, she would have access to the aliens' most secret research. And for the first time in centuries, she would not have to hide her true abilities much longer. That night, in hidden chambers throughout the galaxy, human leaders gathered for a meeting that had been planned for millennia. They appeared as holograms projected across impossible distances by technology the aliens could not detect. "All stations report." "Ready," Director Junho said. "Agent Yuna, what is the status of alien military forces?" Yuna's image flickered in the blue light of the hologram. Their fleet movements are exactly as we predicted. They have no idea that we control their navigation systems. When the time comes, we can move their ships anywhere we want them to go. Excellent. Tech specialist Do Hyun, what about their industrial capacity? Every factory, every production facility, every mining operation is ready for our command, Do Hyun reported. We have been building our technology inside their machines for so long that we now control more of their industry than they do. Director Junho nodded. The plan that had taken 500,000 years to prepare was entering its final phase. But the humans were not the only ones having important meetings that night. In the halls of power on Nexus Prime, alien leaders gathered to discuss the strange problems that were affecting their empire. None of them understood what was happening, but all of them knew that something was wrong. Ships are reporting navigation errors, General Krex said. Factories are producing items that do not match their programming. Communication systems are experiencing delays and disruptions. Empress Vexara listened with growing concern. Her empire had run smoothly for 500,000 years. These problems were completely unexpected. Could this be sabotage? Asked Commander Tyke. The room fell silent. Sabotage was almost unthinkable. The aliens had controlled the galaxy for so long that they had no real enemies left. Who would dare? Asked another general. We have crushed every species that ever opposed us. The only intelligent races left are those that serve us willingly, General. Krex thought for a moment. The humans have been working on our ships and in our factories, he said slowly, but they lack the intelligence for complex sabotage, and they have served us faithfully for 500,000 years. The alien leaders agreed. Humans were simply too primitive to cause problems on this scale. Whatever was happening must have natural causes, equipment wearing out, cosmic radiation affecting computer systems, or similar technical problems. They had no idea that their simple human servants were listening to every word of their conversation. Deep in the hidden chambers, Director Junho watched the alien meeting through cameras that had been built into the walls centuries ago. He smiled as he heard them dismiss the possibility of human involvement. Phase 2 begins tomorrow, he announced to his fellow humans. Start showing them what we can really do. The next day, something extraordinary happened on Titan Base. A massive piece of mining equipment was about to fall on a group of alien workers. The machine weighed thousands of tons and was falling too fast for anyone to escape. But Do Hyun was there. He moved faster than any alien had ever seen a human move. His hands glowed with energy that came from nowhere. The falling machine stopped in midair, held up by forces that alien science could not explain. The alien workers stared in shock as Do Hyun gently lowered the machine to the ground. Then he straightened his work clothes and went back to his normal duties as if nothing unusual had happened. "How did you do that?" asked Overseer Zandak. Do Hyun looked confused as if he did not understand the question. "Do what, Overseer?" "I was just working." But everyone had seen what happened. Everyone had seen a human do something that should have been impossible. Similar events began happening across the galaxy. Human servants displayed reflexes, strength, and abilities that made no sense. But whenever aliens asked them about it, the humans seemed genuinely confused by the questions. On some worlds, human workers prevented disasters with impossible timing. On others, they fixed complex problems in seconds when it should have taken hours. Always, they acted as if these feats were perfectly normal. The aliens began to wonder if they had been wrong about human capabilities. But every test they performed, every examination they conducted showed the same results they had always seen. Humans appeared to have normal strength, normal intelligence, and normal abilities. The aliens could not imagine that humans had learned to hide their true nature so completely that even scientific instruments could not detect it. As reports of strange human behavior reached the highest levels of alien government, a new question began to emerge. If humans could do these things, what else might they be capable of? Ambassador Hyun walked into the Great Council chamber of Nexus Prime like he had done hundreds of times before. But today was different. Today, he would not bow his head or speak in the humble voice that aliens expected from humans. Supreme Chancellor. Vorthak sat at the center of the massive circular table. Around him were the most powerful alien leaders in the galaxy. Generals, admirals, governors, and scientists who controlled billions of lives across thousands of worlds. They had called this emergency meeting because strange things were happening throughout their empire. Their ships were experiencing impossible system failures. Their factories were producing items that defied explanation, and their human servants were displaying abilities that made no sense. Ambassador Hyun, Chancellor Vorthak said with irritation. In his voice, "We need answers. Your people have been acting strangely. We want to know why." Hyun stood in the center of the circle, surrounded by beings who thought they were his masters. He looked up at them with calm, steady eyes. "I believe," he said quietly, "that it is time you learned the truth." His voice was different than it had ever been before. It was not the voice of a servant asking for permission to speak. It was the voice of someone who had never been a servant at all. Chancellor Vorthak leaned forward. "What truth?" Hyun smiled, and his smile contained 500,000 years of secrets. The truth about what humans really are. The truth about what we have been doing while you thought we were serving you. The truth about who really controls this galaxy. Before the aliens could respond, the great chamber filled with light. The walls became transparent, revealing space outside. And in that space, something impossible appeared. Ships. Millions of ships. They materialized from nothing, as if they had been invisible until this moment. Each ship was sleek and beautiful, made from materials that seemed to bend light around them. They were larger than the biggest alien warships, and their design was unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Chancellor Vorthak stood up so quickly that his chair fell backward. What is this?" "This is the human fleet," Hyun said calmly. "We have been building it for 500,000 years. Every ship you see contains technology that makes your most advanced vessels look like toys made by children." Admiral Yoro's image appeared as a hologram in the center of the chamber. She wore a uniform of silver and blue that no alien had ever seen before. Her bearing was that of someone who had commanded fleets across galaxies. "Supreme Chancellor," she said with polite formality, "I am Admiral Yoro of the Human Federation Navy. I have the honor of commanding 17 million vessels, all of which are currently surrounding every major alien installation in the galaxy." The aliens stared at her in shock. This was not possible. Humans did not have a navy. Humans did not have advanced technology. Humans were simple servants who could barely understand alien science. "This is some kind of trick," General Krex said. "Humans cannot build ships like these. You do not have the knowledge or the resources." Engineer. Nari stepped out of what had appeared to be empty air. She had been standing there all along, but now she allowed the aliens to see her. Her appearance was calm and professional, like someone discussing a routine technical matter. "General Krex," she said, "you are partially correct. We did not build these ships in your reality. We built them in parallel dimensions that exist alongside this one. We have been using dimensional folding technology to hide entire civilizations where your sensors could never find them." She gestured, and the walls of the chamber showed new images. Solar systems that the aliens thought they knew completely suddenly revealed vast human cities floating in space. Planets that appeared empty from the surface showed massive underground, complexes that stretched for thousands of miles. "Every world you control," Nari continued, "has human populations that are 10 times larger than your own. We have been living in pocket dimensions, in spaces between atoms, in time streams that run parallel to yours. We have built a civilization that spans not just this galaxy, but 17 others. Chancellor Vorthak's skin had turned pale. But why? Why reveal this now? You could have stayed hidden forever. Ambassador Hyun walked closer to the alien leader. Because hiding was never our goal. Learning was our goal. For 500,000 years, we have studied every aspect of your society. We have learned your languages, your customs, your technologies, your weaknesses, and your fears. Dr. Hana appeared beside him, but she looked nothing like the simple servant who had worked in alien laboratories. She wore robes that seemed to be made of starlight, and her eyes held knowledge that was older than alien civilization. We have studied your biology so thoroughly that we understand your bodies better than you do, she said. We have analyzed your psychology so completely that we can predict your decisions before you make them. We have examined your technology so carefully that we have improved it in ways you never imagined. The images on the walls changed again, showing the inside of alien ships and facilities. But now the aliens could see what humans had always seen. Hidden modifications built into every system, secret programs running inside every computer, invisible changes that had been made to every piece of technology they used. For 500,000 years, Dr. Hana continued, you have been using human-modified technology without knowing it. Every time you gave us permission to repair your machines, we made them a little bit better, and a little bit more under our control. General Krex was staring at the images with growing horror. You mean our ships? Your ships fly where we allow them to fly, Admiral Yoro confirmed. Your weapons fire when we permit them to fire. Your communications carry the messages we choose to let through. You have been living inside a reality that we have been carefully managing for 500,000 years. Commander Tyke, who had boasted about the conquest of Earth just days earlier, now looked like he was going to be sick. But the conquest, we defeated you. You surrendered. Ambassador Hyun's laugh was gentle but not mocking. Commander, let me show you what really happened when your fleet arrived at Earth. The walls displayed new images, alien ships approaching Earth 500,000 years ago. But this time, the aliens could see what their ancestors had not been able to see. Earth was surrounded by human vessels that existed in dimensions. The aliens could not detect. Weapons pointed at the alien fleet from locations that did not appear to exist. Your fleet was never in any danger, Hyun explained, because we never intended to harm you, but you were also never in control. From the moment you entered our solar system, every movement your ships made was guided by human technology, the E. Images showed human leaders making the decision to allow the aliens to believe they had won. It showed the careful planning that went into making human surrender look natural and believable. We let you conquer us, Hyun said, because we wanted to learn about the galaxy beyond Earth. We wanted to understand who we would meet when we finally decided to explore space openly. Allowing you to take us to your worlds was the most efficient way to gather that knowledge. Supreme Chancellor Vorthak was having trouble breathing. You mean, for 500,000 years, we have been your prisoners without knowing it? Not prisoners, Engineer Nari said softly. Students. You have been teaching us everything we needed to know about galactic civilization. You have shown us which species are reasonable and which are dangerous. You have demonstrated which forms of government work and which ones lead to suffering. The hologram of Admiral Yoro gestured toward the space around Nexus Prime, where millions of human ships waited silently. Now our education is complete, she said. We understand this galaxy and everyone in it. We know which worlds need protection and which systems require change. We know which leaders can be trusted and which ones have caused too much harm to continue. Chancellor Vorthak found his voice again. What? What do you want from us? Ambassador Hyun's expression was calm and patient. We want what we have always wanted, peace, prosperity, a galaxy where every species can grow and flourish according to their nature. But under your control, General Krex said bitterly. Under our guidance, Dr. Hana corrected. There is a difference. We have learned something from watching your empire for 500,000 years. We have learned that ruling through fear and domination always leads to rebellion and war. We have no intention of making the same mistakes. The images on the walls changed one final time, showing human colonies throughout the galaxy. But these were not the simple settlements the aliens had seen before. These were cities of wonder, where different species worked together on projects that seemed like magic. This is what we have been building while you thought we were serving you, engineer, Nari said. A new kind of civilization. One where every species contributes their unique strengths to the whole. Commander Taik looked around the chamber desperately. And if we refuse? If we choose to fight? Admiral Yoro's image flickered slightly, and, for a moment, her patient expression showed something else. Not anger, but infinite sadness. Commander, she said gently, you have been fighting us for 500,000 years without knowing it. Every time you gave orders to your human servants, you were fighting us. Every time you used technology we had modified, you were fighting us. President Seok-jin stood before the greatest gathering in galactic history. Representatives from every world, every species, and every civilization had come to hear his words. The vast assembly hall could hold millions of beings, but today it held billions, some present in person, others watching through communication systems that reached every corner of known space. For the first time in 500,000 years, humans and aliens were meeting as equals. Citizens of the galaxy, President Seok-jin began, his voice carrying clearly to every listener. Today, we begin a new chapter in the story of intelligent life among the stars. In the front rows sat the former leaders of the alien empire. Supreme. Chancellor Vorthak looked smaller than he had just weeks ago when he thought he ruled the galaxy. Beside him sat General Krex, Commander Taik, and the other military leaders who had discovered that their greatest victory had actually been their greatest defeat. But they were not prisoners. They were not even under guard. They were here because they had chosen to be here, because they wanted to understand what came next. Some of you are angry, President Seok-jin continued. You feel that you have been deceived for 500,000 years. This anger is understandable, and we do not ask you to put it aside. Former Commander Taik shifted in his seat. He had indeed felt anger when he learned the truth about human capabilities. But over the past weeks, as he learned more about what humans had actually been doing during their apparent servitude, his anger had changed into something else. Commander Taik, President Seok-jin said, looking directly at him. You have a question. Taik stood up. His forearms moved nervously as he spoke. President Seok-jin, I have studied the records your people have shared with us. I have seen what you could have done to us at any time during the past 500,000 years. You could have destroyed our fleets, conquered our worlds, enslaved our people, but you chose not to. Why? The hall fell silent. This was the question that every non-human in the audience wanted answered. President Seok-jin smiled, and his smile was sad, but not bitter. Because we learned something very important during our first years among the stars, Commander. We learned that the greatest victories are not won by destroying your enemies. They are won by turning your enemies into friends. Dr. Hana rose from her seat among the human delegation. She now wore robes that showed her true status as one of the galaxy's greatest scientists, but her manner was still gentle and patient. Commander Taik, she said, during my years working in your research facilities, I watched your scientists make discoveries that amazed me. Not because they were technologically advanced, we had surpassed your technology centuries ago, but because they showed me how different minds approached the same problems in different ways. She gestured to a section of the hall where alien scientists sat alongside human researchers. Your people think about physics differently than we do. Your mathematics follow patterns that we had never considered. Your art expresses concepts that we had never imagined. When we realized this, we understood that conquering you would mean losing all of these gifts forever. Philosopher Minji stepped forward from the human delegation. She was ancient even by human standards, having lived for over 20,000 years. Her wisdom had helped guide humanity's long plan from its very beginning. The old Galactic Empire, she said, was built on a simple idea that some species were superior to others. The strong ruled the weak. The advanced conquered the primitive. The many served the few. Her voice carried to every corner of the vast hall. But we have learned that this idea is not just wrong, it is wasteful. Every species has unique strengths. Every culture has valuable insights. Every individual has something to contribute to the whole. Images appeared on the great displays around the hall, showing scenes from across the galaxy. But these were not the images of conquest and domination that had filled alien broadcasts for millennia. These showed cooperation, discovery, and growth. On one world, human engineers worked alongside alien builders to construct cities that floated in the sky. The aliens provided knowledge of atmospheric science that humans had never mastered, while humans contributed architectural techniques that made the impossible structures stable and beautiful. On another world, alien artists collaborated with human musicians to create forms of beauty that neither species could have achieved alone. The resulting works were so moving that beings from dozens of different species wept when they experienced them. "This is what we have been building," President Seokjin said. "While the old empire focused on control and dominance, we have been creating a new kind of civilization, one where every species can flourish according to their nature. But not everyone in the hall was ready to accept this vision. A group of alien military leaders stood up in the back of the assembly. Their spokesman, a general named Vextar, spoke with anger in his voice. "This is pretty talk," he said. "But what about reality? You say you want cooperation, but you have made it impossible for us to refuse. Your fleets surround our worlds. Your technology controls our systems. How is this different from conquest?" A murmur of agreement rose from some sections of the hall. These were aliens who could not yet imagine a galaxy where strength was used for protection rather than domination. President Seokjin nodded respectfully. "General Vextar, you raise an important point. Let me show you the difference." He gestured. And the displays changed to show the current position of human fleets throughout the galaxy. The aliens in the hall gasped as they saw the true scope of human military power for the first time. There were not just millions of ships, there were billions, scattered through dimensions that alien science could barely detect. "You are correct," President Seokjin said. "We do have the power to force our will on every world in the galaxy. But watch what happens when someone chooses to resist us." The display focused on a distant system where a group of alien warlords had declared their intention to fight against human leadership. Instead of showing a battle, the display showed something else entirely. Human ships surrounded the warlords' fleet, but they did not fire. Instead, they projected images, recordings of what life was like on worlds where humans and aliens worked together. They showed cities where different species lived in harmony. They showed scientific discoveries that had been made through cooperation. They showed art, music, and literature that celebrated the diversity of galactic civilization. The siege lasted for weeks, but it was a siege of ideas, not weapons. Eventually, the warlords asked for negotiations. When they learned what the humans were actually offering, most of them chose to join the new galactic order. "This is how we deal with resistance," President Seokjin explained. "We show people what they can gain by working with us, not what they will lose by opposing us." General Vextar sat down, but his expression showed that he was not entirely convinced. It was former Commander Tyke who stood up next. Over the past weeks, he had spent considerable time studying human history and philosophy. What he had learned had changed his understanding of everything he thought he knew about power and leadership. "President Seokjin," he said, "I have been wondering about something. Your people had the power to reveal themselves at any time during the past 500,000 years. Why did you wait so long? Why reveal yourselves now?" President Seokjin looked around the hall, making eye contact with beings from dozens of different species. "Because," he said, "we were waiting for you to be ready." The hall fell silent again. "When your empire first conquered Earth, President," Seokjin continued, "your people believed that might made right. You believed that the strong should rule the weak simply because they could. If we had revealed our true nature then, you would have seen us as just another threat to be destroyed or another enemy to be feared." Philosopher Minji stepped forward again. "We spent 500,000 years watching your civilization grow and change. We watched your people learn that ruling through fear led to rebellion. We watched your scientists discover that cooperation achieved better results than competition. We watched your artists create works that celebrated unity rather than division." The displays showed a timeline of alien cultural development over the past 500,000 years. Despite their political systems of domination, alien society had gradually become more tolerant, more curious, and more open to new ideas. "We waited," President Seokjin said, "until we believed your people could understand the difference between being conquered and being invited to join something greater." Dr. Hana moved to the center of the assembly floor. "Today, we extend that invitation to every species, every world, and every individual in the galaxy. Join us in building a civilization that celebrates the unique gifts of every form of intelligent life." "But what does that actually mean?" asked a voice from the audience. The speaker was an alien scientist named Dr. Keksara, who had worked alongside Dr. Hana in the research facilities without ever knowing her true identity. Dr. Hana smiled at her former colleague. "It means, Dr. Keksara, that we will finally be able to work together as equals. It means that the discoveries we make together will surpass anything either of our species could have achieved alone." She gestured, and the displays showed research projects that were already underway.